Welcome to The Explainer. You know, the Thanksgiving holiday in Washington is usually a pretty quiet time. But this year, it was anything but. We saw a really turbulent weekend that set off alarms all the way from the White House to the Pentagon. So today, we're going to break down how questions about the president's health and an alleged war crime became the two biggest stories of the holiday. And it all started right here. At the stroke of midnight on Thanksgiving, the president drops this post on social media. It starts with Happy Thanksgiving, but then it takes a really sharp turn with this aggressive message aimed at people who hate, steal, murder. And it ends with this really chilling line, "You won't be here for long." This post right here set the tone for the entire chaotic weekend that followed.
And that's really the big question we're digging into. How did this one weekend spark two completely separate, but, as we'll see, related crises? One of them raised serious questions about the president's personal fitness for office, while the other involved an alleged war crime that sent absolute shockwaves through the national security world.
All right, so let's jump into that first crisis. That midnight rant immediately got people talking, not about policy, but about the president's personal health. And that issue quickly took center stage. You know, this story moved at a breakneck pace. It all starts with that post on Thanksgiving. Then, by Sunday, you have a governor on national TV challenging him to release MRI results. By Sunday night, the president himself is weighing in. And by Monday, the White House is in full-on damage control mode, releasing a physician's memo trying to put out the fire. Yeah, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, he did not hold back. Responding to that post, he went on TV and didn't just question the president's health, he directly challenged his fundamental ability to do the job, calling his behavior, quote, "not normal and not healthy." Okay, and this is where it all gets really confusing. On one hand, you have the president saying he has no idea what the MRI was even for, but then he insists it wasn't the brain. Then, on the other hand, the official White House memo says it was just preventative imaging, focused on his heart and abdomen. The two stories, they just don't line up. So here's the real kicker. The one thing the president himself brought up, the one thing he felt the need to deny, the brain, was the one thing the official physician's memo completely avoided mentioning at all. And that, of course, just left everyone with more questions than answers. But get this, while the White House was trying to manage all the fallout from the health questions, an even more serious fire was starting over at the Pentagon, and this one shifted the focus from personal fitness to the actual laws of war. Now, to really understand the gravity of what was being talked about, we need to define this term a double-tap strike. This isn't just about hitting a target twice. It's very specific. It's when you hit it once, wait, and then hit it again, often when survivors or even first responders are out in the open. It's a tactic that is widely condemned as unlawful. And the source report alleges that this exact tactic was used on September 2nd. A U.S. strike hits a small boat off the coast of Venezuela, and then with two survivors reportedly just clinging to the burning debris in the water, a second strike was allegedly ordered for the specific purpose of killing them. So you have these incredibly grave allegations of a war crime on the table. And what was the official response? According to the source, the Secretary of Defense posted this, a meme. It's an AI-generated image of a cartoon character firing a rocket launcher, and it seems to just be mocking the entire incident. The reaction from lawmakers could not have been more different. Senator Angus King, and remember, he sits on both the Intelligence and Armed Services Committees, he laid out the legal stakes in no uncertain terms. He said if this report is accurate, it's not just a rules violation, it's a stone-cold war crime, and, he added, it's also murder. And this wasn't a partisan issue at all. The concern was coming from both sides of the aisle. You had key Republican committee chairs immediately vowing to investigate this, confirming very serious concerns. Democrats were even more direct, with some flat out calling the secretary unqualified for the job. The message from Capitol Hill was unified and crystal clear. This needs a serious investigation. So, how did the administration respond to all this pressure? Well, it looks like it unfolded in three distinct steps. First, the White House said the secretary didn't give the order. Second, they pointed the finger down the chain of command, blaming an admiral, Frank Mitch Bradley. And then, third, the secretary himself posts online that the admiral he just threw under the bus has his 100% support. Yeah, and commentators saw right through this. As Brandon Friedman pointed out, this wasn't seen as a statement of real support. It looked like a very transparent attempt to push the blame onto a subordinate. And it came with a pretty chilling warning for other military officers. The administration will issue unlawful orders, and then they'll blame you for following them.
National security experts were, well, even more blunt. Tom Nichols, writing in The Atlantic, used this just scathing analogy. He described the Secretary of Defense's behavior not as a serious cabinet official, but like a sneering, spoiled punk who thinks he's completely above the law.
So you might be asking yourself, how do these two stories, one about health, one about a military crisis, how do they connect? Well, the source argues they don't exist in a vacuum. Instead, they're part of what's described as a much bigger pattern, a willingness to challenge, to bend, or to just flat out ignore the established rule of law.
According to the report, you can see this pattern in the justice system too. Take a look at this series of federal court rulings. They all find the same problem. From New Jersey to California, over and over, judges have ruled that the administration's appointments of key U.S. attorneys were done illegally, completely defying the law.
And hey, this isn't just someone's interpretation. This is being stated directly in court opinions. As one federal judge wrote, it's apparent that the administration is just frustrated by the legal barriers and is actively trying to find ways around them to install the people they want.
So, when you connect all these different threads from this one single turbulent holiday weekend, it leads us to this one big overarching question. It doesn't matter if we're talking about health disclosures, the laws of war, or legal appointments. All of these events raise a really fundamental concern about accountability. When the established rules are challenged or broken, who is supposed to provide the guardrails? That's the question that's still hanging in the air long after the holiday weekend ended.